Hey guys, it's Kaitlin from the Texas Forestry Museum. Today we're going to make a tree cookie craft. So the supplies you'll need is a paper plate and some markers. If you don't have a paper plate, you can cut a piece of paper into a circle, or you can even just draw a circle on a piece of paper, but make sure the circle is kind of big because we're going to draw inside of it. Also, if you don't have markers, you can use pencil, crayons, pen, just something to write with to make your tree cookie. Before we make our tree cookie though, I'm going to talk to you about what a tree cookie is. Tree cookies aren't something we can eat like we usually think of a cookie, but they are something that can help us learn about the tree itself. So a tree cookie is a part of the trunk or a branch from a tree. It has these nice lovely rings, and we use those rings to tell how old that tree is. And so how we do that is the light rings represent the springtime of the tree's life. So that's when it grows the most. So that's why they're nicer and thicker. Then we have the dark rings that represent the time of the year when it's fall or winter, when it's not growing. So one spring, so one light ring, and then one fall winter time, that's the dark ring, that equals 1 year. Okay, so when we count for the age of a tree, you only count either the light rings or the dark rings. I prefer to count the dark rings just because they're easier for me to see. So let's count this one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this tree was 12 years old before it was cut. So that's how old we can figure out for a tree, but also tree cookies can tell us lots more information. So do you see these little dark circles on my tree cookie? Those dark circles represent where branches used to be. So any circles on a tree cookie show where branches would have been on a tree. Now this one you can see it started to incorporate around the branch. The trunk was starting to go around it, but on my bark you can actually see where those branches came out. So remember, circles that aren't from just the center, those represent the branches of a tree. Also, on this tree cookie, if you can see these darker marks, we didn't put them there. Those were actually created due to the effect of a fungus. It's called blue stain. When a beetle goes into a tree, this allows the fungus blue stain to get into the bark and then also into the inside of a tree, leaving those marks. So whenever you have a tree cookie, if you see those blue kind of marks, then that's going to mean that it had a beetle infestation or beetles were crawling in it to allow that fungus to get in there. Okay? Then also, just to show you, tree cookies can come in all sizes. So this tree compared to these is very old. You see all those rings? So that is something. Also, this tree cookie, I don't know if you can tell, but it did have some blue stain in it. So beetles were present in this tree. You can also see on its bark, if I get a good area, that if you can see those little holes are where the beetles were going in to allow that blue stain to get in. Also, this dark area of the tree, that is called the heartwood. A heartwood is the dead area of the inside of the tree, but it is its strongest point, as it helps keep the tree standing nice and tall. So, before we get to our tree cookie, I'm going to tell you one last fact about them. All right, so out of these two tree cookies, which one do you think is older? If you said this one, you'd be right. Even though this tree cookie is larger than this tree cookie has more rings. It has 12 rings like we counted. This one has about 10. Now the reason why this tree cookie is larger than this one, even though this one is older, is because of the growth. If you compare the rings on these two, the springtime, the light rings, are way larger and thicker on this tree. Yes, this one started off with some nice large rings here when it was first a couple of years old. But as it got older and older, if you see, those rings start to get really small. So that means it was in competition for either sunlight or maybe water or maybe the nutrients of the soil wasn't so good. But this tree cookie was receiving all it needed. It had a lot of nice thick rings for springtime and just kept growing really nice and large. So even though this one's larger, it can still be younger just due to the fact of its growth was a lot healthier than this tree's. And that comes into play with foresters. They do a lot of forest management, and it's to make sure that their trees become nice and healthy, just like this one is. So now we're going to make our tree cookie. What you're going to do is just grab a couple markers. You can choose any color. And you're going to do as many rings for how old you are. So for me, I'm 33, so I would have to draw 33 rings. But today I'm just going to draw a couple so that you guys get the idea. So if you're 6, you're going to draw 6 rings. If you're age 7, you're going to draw 7, and so on. So you'll start in the middle of your circle. You can draw it however you want. I kind of draw mine a little wonky. And then you just keep drawing them. So that's 2. There's 3. 4. 5. And so as you can see, my tree is getting larger and larger. And so I'll show you what I ended up with. This is my tree cookie, and you can do it however you want it. I wanted rainbow. So as you can see on the edges, there's some blue stain coming in. So beetles had been in my tree. Also, lastly, I don't have a tree cookie that shows this, but if there's ever a forest fire and a tree survives that forest fire, and you take a tree cookie years later from it, you'll be able to tell it survived that forest fire by the dark area. If there's a black kind of ashy area on the tree in one of its rings, that's mean it survived a forest fire. So that's pretty cool. Well, I hope you enjoy this craft, and if you would like to share it with us, we'd love to see it on Facebook. So I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day. Bye.